A very good evening to all. Sri Raghapuram Sabhayogam is one such body constituted in AD 793 in Cherthalam village in Kannur district of Kerala, with Cherthalam Sri Raghapuram Valiyamadilakam as its headquarters. In 2018, this organization was reorganized and registered as a charitable trust. Sabhayogam included all the aspirants of Dharma. The Sabhayogam today represents numerous Brahmin families living in India and abroad. Sri Raghapuram Sabhayogam Academy is currently an academic wing of this organization. Sri Raghapuram Sabhayogam Academy aims to build academic excellence among different ages of people in the society under the leadership of youth without any differences in caste, creed, social status, etc. Our mission is to evolve as a center of excellence of global standard in the fields of academic, skill development, life management, and research in all possible walks of life, in align with our culture, tradition, upon which the youth at large looks for solutions. Before moving on to the program, I'm very glad to introduce myself. I am Megha R. Sharma from Thiruvananthapuram. So let's move on to the official session of today's program. It is true that a prayer that comes from the heart can move mountains. It increases your faith and bring you closer to God. I invite Ms. Anjana, the representative of Sangeeta Sabha Sri Raghapuram Sabhayogam, for prayer.
Am I audible? Hello?
Yes, 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 you are.
Okay, thank you so much. गजाननं भूतगणादिसेवितं कपिध्वजं भूफलसारभक्षितम् उमासुतं शोकविनाशकारणम् नमामि विघ्नेश्वर पादपङ्कजम् नमामि विघ्नेश्वर पादपङ्कजम् नमामि सरस्वती तव चरणं तव चरणं तव चरणं विमलसुसङ्गीतललितसुगन्धित जीवन सकल सुधारत विकसित श्वेतवस्त्रतल ऊज्ज्वल धारिणि वीणाकरधर स्वर प्रसादिनी सरि गरि प गपनी बनी सनि सरि रि सरि गरि सनि पगरि स नमामि सरस्वती तव चरणं तव चरणं तव चरणं
Thank you, Anjana ma'am, for the beautiful and soothing prayer. Next, I kindly invite Ms. Anakha Jyotish to deliver the welcome speech. She is a BA graduate in Film and Media from Annapurna College of Film and Media, Hyderabad, and has been working in Hyderabad. Anakha, please.
Namaskaram, Jai Shankaram. Thank you, Megha. Thank you for your kind words. Today's topic is financial literacy for youth. It's a beautiful evening for a productive topic to talk about. Money plays an important role in our lives, and to be able to manage it properly is an art we all must learn. I feel honored to be a part of this event and extremely privileged to welcome the chief guest of the event, Sri Shankar M, sir, who has an experience of 25 years in finance management. I'd also like to welcome Srimati Arya Nandakumar, Vice Chairperson of Sri Raghavapuram Sabhayogam Academy, to this glorious event. I welcome each one of you. Let's learn finance management and grow together. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Anakha, for your warm welcome speech. Now, I kindly invite Mrs. Aryananda Kumar, the Vice Chairperson of Sri Raghapuram Sabhayogam Academy, to deliver the presidential address. She is a MPA graduate and presently working as Joint Director at Maharishi Shiksha Samsthan, which is having 175 schools in different parts of India. There is a rare honor to Mrs. Arya Nandakumar. She has been selected to chair the Madhya Pradesh World Peace Wing G100 Club, an international organization for peace. Arya ma'am, please.
Thank you, Megha. Sadashiva-samarambham Shankaracharya-madhyamam Asmat-acharya-paryandam Vande Guru-parambaram. എല്ലാവർക്കും എൻ്റെ വിനീതമായ നമസ്കാരം. ശ്രീ രാഘപുരം സഭായോഗം അക്കാദമിയുടെ ഇന്നത്തെ ഈ പ്രതിമാസ പരിപാടിയിലേക്ക് എല്ലാവരെയും ക്ഷണിക്കുന്നു. ഇന്നത്തെ ചടങ്ങിൽ അധ്യക്ഷനാവേണ്ട ശ്രീ മാധവൻ നമ്പൂതിരിക്ക് ചില സാങ്കേതിക കാരണങ്ങളാൽ പങ്കെടുക്കാൻ സാധിക്കാത്തതിനാൽ അദ്ദേഹത്തിന്റെ അഭാവത്തിൽ എന്നിലാണ് അധ്യക്ഷ സ്ഥാനം നിക്ഷിപ്തമായിരിക്കുന്നത്. പുതിയതായി കണക്ട് ചെയ്ത ആൾക്കാർക്ക് വേണ്ടിയിട്ട് ഞാൻ ശ്രീ രാഘപുരം സഭായോഗത്തിനെ കുറിച്ച് 2 വാക്ക് പറയുവാൻ ആഗ്രഹിക്കുന്നു. ശ്രീ രാഘപുരം സഭായോഗം ഇന്ന് സാംസ്കാരികം, വിദ്യാഭ്യാസം, പരിസ്ഥിതി, ജീവകാരുണ്യം തുടങ്ങിയ മേഖലകളിൽ ഗൗരവമേറിയ പ്രോജക്റ്റുകൾ ചെയ്തു വരുന്നു. ഈ പ്രവർത്തനങ്ങളുടെ അരങ്ങത്തും അണിയറയിലും പ്രവർത്തിക്കുന്ന എല്ലാവർക്കും എൻ്റെ അഭിനന്ദനങ്ങൾ. സമുദായത്തിന് അകത്തും പുറത്തുമുള്ളവർക്ക് ഉന്നത വിദ്യാഭ്യാസത്തിനും ഗവേഷണത്തിനും സൗകര്യമൊരുക്കുകയും രാഷ്ട്ര പുരോഗതി സാധ്യമാക്കുകയുമാണ് അക്കാദമി ചെയ്യുന്നത്. സിവിൽ സർവീസ്, UPSC പഠിതാക്കൾക്കായി റെസിഡൻഷ്യൽ, നോൺ റെസിഡൻഷ്യൽ കോച്ചിങ്, സെമിനാറുകൾ, മോട്ടിവേഷണൽ ക്ലാസുകളും പ്രതിമാസം മുടങ്ങാതെ നടത്തിവരുന്നു. സഭായോഗം അക്കാദമി ഉന്നത വിജയം കരസ്ഥമാക്കുന്ന വ്യക്തികളെ അനുമോദിക്കുകയും വിദ്യാഭ്യാസ പ്രവർത്തനങ്ങളിൽ പങ്കാളിയാക്കുകയും ചെയ്തു വരുന്നു. എല്ലാവർക്കും ഊഷ്മളമായ അഭിനന്ദനങ്ങളോടെ ഒരു അഭ്യർത്ഥന കൂടി പറയാനുണ്ട്. നിങ്ങൾ എല്ലാവരും ഈ ശ്രീ രാഘപുരം സഭായോഗത്തിനെയും അതുപോലെ അക്കാദമിയെയും ഉയരത്തിലേക്ക് നയിക്കാൻ സഹായിക്കുമെന്ന് വിചാരിക്കുന്നു. അതിനുവേണ്ടി നിങ്ങൾ എല്ലാവരും ശ്രീ രാഘപുരം സഭായോഗത്തിന്റെ വെബ്സൈറ്റ് https://sriraghapuram.in സന്ദർശിക്കുവാനും ശ്രീ രാഘപുരം സഭായോഗത്തിന്റെ യൂട്യൂബ് ചാനൽ സബ്സ്ക്രൈബ് ചെയ്യുവാനും അഭ്യർത്ഥിക്കുന്നു. ഇതുവരെ നടന്ന എല്ലാ പ്രോഗ്രാമിന്റെയും വീഡിയോകൾ അതിൽ ലഭ്യമാണ്. എല്ലാവരും ആ ഉപകാരപ്രദമായ വീഡിയോകൾ കാണുവാനും അതിലൂടെ അറിവ് വർദ്ധിപ്പിക്കുവാനും അപേക്ഷിക്കുന്നു. നിങ്ങളുടെ എല്ലാവരുടെയും സഹകരണം ഉണ്ടായാൽ തീർച്ചയായും സഭായോഗവും അക്കാദമിയും ഉയർച്ചയിൽ എത്തുമെന്നതിന് യാതൊരു സംശയവുമില്ല. അധികം ദീർഘിപ്പിക്കുന്നില്ല. പ്രഗത്ഭനായ ശ്രീ ശങ്കർ എം യുവജനങ്ങളിലെ സാമ്പത്തിക സാക്ഷരത എന്ന വിഷയത്തെ ആസ്പദമാക്കി ഇന്ന് സംസാരിക്കുന്നതായിരിക്കും. അദ്ദേഹം പകർന്നു നൽകുന്ന നല്ല അറിവുകൾ കേൾക്കാനും മനസ്സിലാക്കാനും നിങ്ങൾക്ക് കഴിയട്ടെ എന്ന് ആശംസിച്ചുകൊണ്ട് ഞാൻ എൻ്റെ എളിയ വാക്കുകൾ ഇവിടെ ഉപസംഹരിക്കുന്നു. നന്ദി, നമസ്കാരം.
Thank you, ma'am, for your presidential address. Next, I invite Ms. Anakha A for introducing the chief guest. She is studying in 10th standard Raja School, Nileshwar. She is very much interested in academic and cultural activities, and she is also a member of organizing team Sabhayogam Academy. Anakha, please.
Sri Shankar M. He has 25 plus years of financial technology experience in Tokyo, New York, and Singapore. He is also a founder and CEO, Silver PI Education Solutions Pte Limited, Singapore, Seattle, and USA. He is also a co-founder of Loga Wireless, Malaysia, visiting professor at Chapar University, MBA, Finance and FinTech. Lead capacity building program at Cochin University, CUSAT on FinTech. Skill-based volunteering engagements in education, microfinance, and sustainable development for organizations in USA, UK, Singapore, and India. He is fluent in multiple languages, including Japanese. His professional interests are holistic education, financial literacy, fintech, and technology. Other interests are folklore, poetry, Japanese language and culture, and travel. Thank you.
Thank you, Anaka. So now it's the time for being our class. So, sir, Shankar sir, please.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Good evening to all, and anyone from any other time zone, good morning. Um, so, okay, so we're going to talk about financial literacy. So my assumption is that I have essentially based this talk little bit at the base level. So I would kind of expect um, this would be useful for most of the people at any sort of level of exposure to finance. So because of that, we cannot go into a lot of details on topics because this is a very, very vast area. So let's see. I mean, I had actually prepared for something like 90 minutes. So obviously, we may not be able to complete all that. So we will have to skip some of the topics, but then obviously, depending on the interest, we can go into depth in a subsequent or a later session, right? So today it's essentially we talk about finance, why finance is important, why we think generally in our society and in general. I mean, it's not just a society like India; it's also globally why finances. The financial literacy is a problem. So we will look at it from a kind of a broad, high-level perspective, and then go into specific details only based on our time availability. So I'm going to share. I have some slides, so I'm going to share the screen here, and then I mean, if you have any questions. I think it will be difficult to sort of interrupt and ask questions in the because of the time constraints. So you can either kind of type the questions in the chat and maybe we can collect it later and deal with it, or you can send me an email. I'll share my email address at the end, or obviously you can go to the organizers and then get the questions to me as well. So let's kind of hold the questions for now. So I'm going to share my screen here. Hope you can see it. Yeah, it's just loading. Okay. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the introduction. Let's just quickly go into the topics. So today we're going to cover essentially three aspects of financial literacy. What is financial literacy? And it's in short, it's called FinLit. So what is financial literacy and why is financial literacy important? And how can you become financially literate? So essentially these three aspects. And then while we talk about it, then we will talk about specifics like, what do you mean by financially literate, and what are some of the best practices? All those things we will essentially touch on. But then that's again because of the time constraints and as well as the sort of diversity of the audience, We may not be able to go into details on each of these topics, but then this is more like a level setting kind of session, and then we can go into more specifics later if we need. Right? So the next slide. So what is financial literacy? So we all have heard about literacy. So the word literacy itself means being able to handle letters or know letters, right? So that's where this this idea of literacy came from, and we know that when we talk about literacy, it's about being able to read and write, being able to for example, write your name in your mother tongue. That's defined as being literate. So literacy is essentially associated with learning, reading, and writing. But then when so that's one very specific field where it's about reading and writing, right? But then as the human uh, uh, areas of knowledge expanded, we essentially needed a little bit of basic expertise in different areas in order for you to kind of be to lead a meaningful life, right? So because of that, then we started defining new types of what are called literacies. So this is essentially the original literacy is now called foundational literacy. Foundational literacy still means being able to read and write, whereas we have now defined several types of literacy. So if you go into, for example, the United Nations papers on these kind of things, they talk about all these different types of literacies. So for example, digital literacy, being able to use computers, being able to use computers and digital technologies. And then legal literacy, I mean, to have a basic understanding of the laws governing your life, right? And health literacy, basically being able to understand how, what is being healthy and how do you get sick and how can you kind of prevent getting sick, right? And then cultural literacy. Cultural literacy could mean, for example, being aware of your own culture and your own roots, and then also other cultures. What does it mean to be, for example, in a particular cultural context, right? So those are called cultural literacy. And then there is also the mathematical literacy, essentially being able to use the basics of mathematics, which again, sometimes a lot of you need that in order to be able to survive or lead a meaningful life. Whereas sometimes people who do not learn mathematics or specialize in mathematics, they do not understand some of these kind of things. So whereas for anyone to lead a meaningful life, you need to understand basics of mathematics. So these are all essentially different types of literacies which have been kind of coined or people have proposed. And so financial literacy is one of them, right? So financial literacy is again, it's about money, because money is there in our lives. We may or may not like it. We may have different opinions about it, but anything you do in life, it's all money is there as a part of everything. So that's again how financial literacy has been introduced into this mix as well. Now, why literacy? So basically, we talked about all these different types of literacy. So why do you need to be literate? I mean, what's wrong with, for example, not being financially literate or not being digitally literate? Let's say I'm an old timer. I don't really care about computers. I don't really I've never used computers in my life so far. Why do I need to use computers, right? And health. I mean, why do I need to know about all the details of health? I mean, I'll go to the doctor when I have a health problem, right? So these are potential questions that might come up. And why do everyone need to be sort of literate? I think the question is basically the answer to this question is you need to I mean, you don't need to be literate if you don't deal with a particular field, right? So whereas if you live in this world, and for example digital technology like phones and computers, they are in our lives. I mean, we cannot live without them, right? So that's uh, that's a reality. So in this today's world, if you need to be leading a meaningful life, you need to be able to use phones, smartphones. You need to be able to use digital technology. So again, it all depends on what kind of life you need lead. So in your current lifestyle, if you need to deal with certain things, then you need to be literate in that. Otherwise, obviously, you're going to have problems, and we will talk about the kind of problems what we will see, right? So it's essentially that. So and again, financial literacy, because money is there in everything we do. uh, Being able to understand money, being able to use money effectively, being able to manage your money, that is an essential skill. Now, financial literacy itself, there are a couple of definitions I've put. I mean, if you go into internet and search, I mean, you see a lot of different ways of explaining financial literacy. But I'll just put a couple of definitions here. One is the ability to understand and effectively use various financial skills. So this is basically, essentially management of money, right? So being able to understand and effectively use. I mean, you should be able to, it's not just that you survive. You need to be able to very effectively use them. And then another definition could be possession of skills that allow people to make smart decisions with their money. So it's again, I've highlighted the thing here of smart decisions. So essentially, how do you become smart about your money? So these are a couple of definitions, but the basic idea is that whatever you need to, in whatever way you need to deal with the money, you do that in a sort of smart way, right? And just one quote here, which I guess you also had quoted this in one of your posters here. It says that this is from a survey by RBI. So RBI, Reserve Bank of India, says only 27% of the people in India understand their finances. So this is a very, I mean, if you look at it, I mean, money is what you need to deal with on an everyday basis, and only less than one third of the people understand, their financial situation. It's, we are not talking about advanced financial skills. We are talking about basic management of money, which everyone needs to do. So less than one third of the people understand that. That's a very serious thing. And then, but if you need any consolation, then you can say that this number is actually 20% in the USA. So it's nothing to do with whether you are an advanced country or whether you are a kind of developing country. It seems the situation is no better, and in some cases worse. I mean, it's basically it's a very well-known, well-acknowledged fact that in the US, the financial practices of the people are really bad. People are in debt. People are in all kinds of trouble, right? Even with an advanced country or a rich country like the US. And this number is apparently only 20%. So this is basically the background of what we are going to talk about today. So obviously this the two-thirds or more than two-thirds of the people not knowing about their money situation. It's pretty bad. So now we'll look at what it means. Why do we say that? I mean, how do we say that these 20 or 73% of the people are not financially literate, right? What are some of the symptoms that we see in today's world? So I have listed in two slides, I have listed a few random symptoms, as you can see in the society. And again, this is not an exhaustive list. This is just a few sample things that we see in everyday life. I mean, these are basic things. I mean, it's nothing you wouldn't have thought about or you wouldn't have seen. but I just want to highlight them here so that we can think about it, right? So I'll just quickly read through some of these. Many people are not able to manage their income and expenses. Obviously, people, even with a decent income, people are not able to kind of meet all their expenses. And then many do not know how much they spend monthly or annually. Like, if you just stop and ask someone, like, how much do you really spend on different things, people do not really know that, because no one keeps track of this, right? Because if you think about it, I think you might have seen that in some of the in the previous generation, people used to keep track of all their expenses. This kind of notebook where people used to write income, expense, and all that. But I don't think that practice exists anymore, because you don't really need to keep track of anything, because if you want to know how much money you have at any point of time, you can just look at your app on your mobile. I mean, then So you don't really need to keep track of it if you just want to know, like, where you stand. But so because of that, people do not realize or understand, uh, where they stand. And many people do not have a mechanism to save. So people do not have any kind of plan of how they can save, right? And then many people, despite decent income, are deeply in debt. This you would have definitely seen people, maybe both the spouses working, but then still they are in debt, right? Because they spend more than what they can earn, right? And then many people lose everything due to institutional failures, like institutional failures or a fraud. I mean, this we see kind of in the news every day, like a bank, for example, a bank closes down, or a financial institution which kind of duped the people, that kind of folded. And because of that, people lost everything, and then they put all their savings, the entire money into that, and then they lost everything, right? So this is something which we see every day. I mean, we obviously talk about how crooked those financial institutions are, but then when you look at it, these people kind of got into that situation themselves, right? So that's again a lack of kind of understanding and financial literacy. And then many people go broke with unexpected events. Like, so for example, people don't have a plan for unexpected life events. For example, a natural disaster, like suddenly you are, you fell ill with a serious illness which needs a lot of money to treat, and then suddenly your income has gone down, or you lost your job, or you met with an accident. These kind of unexpected events, people completely go broke. I mean, this is again a problem, because these kind of things can happen. So you have different ways of deal with it. You can save for it, you can insure against it, but people don't really think about all these things, because these are obviously unexpected events, right? And then this is again obviously very, very big issue. Many people continue to get duped with financial scams and con investment schemes. This we talk about a lot. We read it in the news every day. Someone cheated with kind of con chit fund, this kind of pyramid investment schemes where people keep investing, and then suddenly these people run away with the money. But we read about it on a regular basis, but we still continue to get kind of cheated by them, right? So this is again a serious issue. I mean, this is again a problem, because due to, I mean, it's because you don't have a systematic way of thinking about these kind of issues, right? So it's always you never try to understand what is behind these kind of organizations and these kind of investments, and then we get into that, and then obviously later we get into trouble. So these are some of the symptoms, and I still have a few more. I don't really want to spend too much of time, because these are, you probably got an idea of what it means to be financially illiterate, and some of these symptoms. And then many people, these recently people have, in India especially, people have the people have started investing in stock market, quite a bit, right? And but many of these people do this more like gambling. So whether you are going and betting on something in a casino, in a very similar way people bet on stocks without really understanding what it means, right? Why do these stocks move up and down without understanding that if you go and buy and sell these stocks, then it's no different from gambling, right? That's again a symptom of financial illiteracy. And then rising suicides due to financial failures. I mean, this we hear a lot. I mean, basically, farmers and small business owners, they lost everything and then they commit suicide. And again, this definitely there are a lot of what do you call bad people behind some of these kind of things who get them into this situation. But then they're also like, if you invest in something, if you invest everything you have on a particular venture or investment, let's say if it's if we talk about the small businesses, then if that fails, if that is going to get you into such a miserable situation where you have no recourse other than ending your life, that's a problem. I mean, you really need to get educated. And then obviously many people do not have insurance, whether it's life, health, or property insurance. You are hit with these kind of unexpected events, you lose things. And then some of these other things are a little bit more advanced. People do not invest their money efficiently. A lot of people still hold cash, and just put it under your pillow, so to say. Or people invest in property when the property market is not doing very well, or people just keep buying gold when gold is not necessarily a good investment. I mean, it's essentially because you don't really think about it too much. You just think that that's probably the only thing and that's not necessarily a good investment, right? So that's again managing your investments. And then taxes, that's again the next level. How do you manage your taxes effectively? Sometimes you pay kind of a lot more than what you have to pay. And then this is another statistic from from the US. It's basically, they say that 80% of the business failures. So if someone starts a business and eventually that business fails, 80% of those cases have something to do with the financial mismanagement. So again, some cases it's about the market, and it's about people. You didn't get the right people. I mean, there are obviously those reasons. But if you look at all the major reasons why businesses fail, they say that more than 80% it has something to do with financial mismanagement. It's again the same people who start businesses as well, right? And then the last one, this is also interesting. Citizens. So when we talk about finance and financial literacy, it's not just about your money. It's also about the state's money, the country's money, right? So many times citizens have very limited understanding about the finances of the state of the country, right? So for example, when we have these budget presentations, like whether it's a union budget or whether it's a state budget, there's a lot of coverage about that in the press and all that. But how much do we really understand what they are talking about? Because if this is very important when you participate in a democracy, right? Basically we vote for these people to kind of rule for us. And then I think I would say that the most important decisions they make are related to finance, right? How do they manage the money of the country? And that's where probably as citizens we are least educated. we probably understand a lot about the defense, or we probably understand a lot about education. We talk about probably education and educational policy of the state. We probably understand quite a bit, and even things like environmental policy. We do, there's probably a lot more awareness. Whereas money, the budget and the taxes, and how, for example, the value of the currency, these kind of things, how they work, and we have very limited understanding. So what happens is that we just go by what some of the political leaders say, and then we vote based on someone else's kind of statements, right? We do not understand. Whereas in a democracy, it's very important that the citizens understand what they are doing when they vote. Otherwise, obviously, you will most likely vote for the wrong policies and wrong people, right? So that's, again, I think, apart from the personal side of finance, this is another important part. So understanding the finances of your country or your state, and then meaningfully participate in that. That's, again, I believe that's also part of financial literacy. So these are, again, some of the symptoms what we talked about. So I just want to give you this as a background. And then let's say, now, this is a slide which I prepared. I mean, I was kind of thinking more of a Malayali only audience, but I understand that there are a few other people also. So some of the quotes here have been essentially from Malayalam, but then I'll try to explain it around. So, I mean, this is not, I'm not saying that, these are essentially directly related to financial literacy or illiteracy, but I'm just giving you some ideas to think about, right? Why we think, we have so much of problem with financial literacy, right? I'm not categorically stating that this is the reason, but I'm just giving you kind of a reason, kind of thing to think about. So one thing is that these are facts. We do not learn about money anywhere. So this is very, I mean, money is there, it is there in our lives all the time, but we do not learn about it. Think about it. In the schools, we study like 12 years in the school, and then your degree, post-graduation, whatever. Nowhere we learn about money and finance. Sometimes when you do mathematical problems, then we learn about compound interest and simple interest, right? That's only as an example or a use case of a mathematical problem. We never learn explicitly about money. Of course, only people who take up degree in, for example, commerce or economics, obviously they do have to learn about money. But that's, again, as a profession, right? So whereas as a basic skill, we never learn about money in the school, and then we never learn about the money at the job either. Like, unless it comes to something which you have to do, we don't. And then more than that, we also never learn or talk about that in the family. So very rarely, in the family, we talk about the money matters, right? Again, money is generally, the parents keep them as a kind of the finances of the family, the parents keep them as a secret, never discuss that, because you don't want to probably burden the kids with this information, or you want to really keep it a secret, right? So very rarely we hear about money. And then money is a hush topic. I mean, typically it's never, it's a very secretive thing. We never talk about it. Family, friends, even among friends. I mean, I would, this probably is different. I mean, between different friend groups, but generally, asking or talking about your money situation is considered to be very kind of impolite. Asking someone about a money situation is considered very impolite. Whereas you talk freely about health and health situation and other things, right? But not about money, right? So it's again, I'm not saying that this is necessarily good or bad, but that's what it is, right? And then I've listed a few quotes below. This is again taken from very well-known quotes, which we are very well aware of it. It's there in the back of our minds all the time. Just to sort of highlight it here. So, for example, money is the root of all evil. We hear about that quite a bit. Money is the root of all evil, and this is actually a quote from Bible. So money is considered something which is bad, it's evil. And then the next one is from Ishopanishads, basically. So it's from our Upanishad. It says, Hiranmayena patrena satyasyapihitam mukham. So essentially says that the truth is hidden by a golden plate or a golden dish or whatever. So it's essentially, I think you probably you've probably heard the translation of this in various other languages as well. Essentially, truth is hidden by money. So gold is money here. So truth is hidden by money. And then a few others, Pattu Kittugil Nuru Madiyendam, Shadamagil Sahasram Madiyendam. So money is like, the greed for money is always like something which is really kind of, bad for humans, right? And then Kanagam Moolam Kamini Moolam, Kalaham Palavidham, Ulagil Sulabham, Kunjanamya. So essentially, money causes, kind of disputes and fights among people. And then the last one says is Vittamendinu Martin Vidya Kaivashamavugil, Vennayundengil, Narunei Verutta Kardenamo. So it's mostly the first part which we talk about here. So when you have education and when you have skills, you don't really need money. So people, a lot of times people quote only the first time. So money is not something which you really need to worry about or need to care about. It's, as long as you are educated, you are good, right? That's not exactly what it means, but that's how lot of times it's quoted. So these are these are all there in the back of our minds when we think about money. So money is something which is not a good thing. It's not, it's not a very auspicious thing. So you really don't want to, so yeah, so that's how I think a lot of people think about it, right? And then also, just a couple of other things. When you just think about all these fairy tales, for example, Panchatantra, Jataka tales, all these different things, right? In most of those stories, you hear an evil rich person or evil rich creature and a virtuous poor. So essentially, the rich people are generally portrayed as evil. It's I'm not saying that there are no what do you call evil people among the rich, but then that's typically how it is presented, whereas poor people are generally considered virtuous. And then also just think about some of the movies, especially from 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, right? Most of these cases the rich are the villains and the poor are, and the protagonists mostly are poor, right? And so the moral of the story in most of the cases is that how money is not necessarily what is important. It's about character and all that, right? So again, I'm not saying that these are not what do you call important. I'm just saying that I'm just suspecting that we might have taken this a little bit too far, and then saying that having money by itself is necessarily evil or villainous, right? So this is just for you to think about. I'm not going to go too much in articulating this further. Okay, so coming back to financial literacy. So I'm just this is sort of a kind of summary slide of today, or what I wanted to kind of talk about. So financial literacy, there are basically different dimensions, like we said. So there is personal finance. So it's basically you and your money, right? So that's obviously one important part, how you manage your money. That's again very important part of the financial literacy. And then financial literacy and your career. So for example, when you start working and you earning, and in what kind of career you want to be, in what kind of profession, in what kind of area where you want to be. This has a lot to do with the financial prospects of different areas. For example, do you really want to go into IT, or does it make sense to go and learn humanities and do, for example, some of the upcoming areas, right? Or does it make sense to learn, let's say, biotechnology, right? And and again, of course, there is also the question of the prospects of that particular field, but then a lot of it is related to the financial prospects. For example, as a country, where does India stand in that particular area? Are we, for example, in the pharma business, right? India is poised to become, India is already big, but India is also poised to become much bigger. So where do we stand? So money has to do with your career as well. It's not just about what you're earning today. It's also about your future of your career, or your field of work, right? And then if you are running a business, or doing anything like any sort of investment, for example, you're investing, whether you are investing in your farming or doing some small business or whatever, right? That's obviously financial literacy is very important. You should be able to understand how investments work and how you can manage it and what's the kind of return. That's again another dimension. And then, like I said, financial literacy and the society. This is very, very important. So, your civic responsibilities, your civic obligations, your democratic rights, all these things are, there is also a financial dimension to that, which people do not necessarily see. But I think that's, I would say that's probably the most important aspect of what the government does for you. So a lot of times, without understanding that, you kind of support one or the other, and that's not necessarily good. And the last one there is the financial literacy and the world. So this is again, this here I'm just talking a little bit about how finance itself is changing, right? So there are a lot of sorry, macro trends happening in the financial world. For example, things like globalization, and the financial world itself is changing by what is called fintech. How technology is changing finance itself. I mean, there's a big topic. I have another slide somewhere towards the end, but that's again a huge change happening. And then things like sustainability, things like how the climate change is affecting the world and how that is impacting finance, how the financial world is changing because of the movements in sustainability and climate change. For example, a lot of people care, when you invest money, a lot of people care about investing in these kind of sustainable industries, right? So the lot of those kind of aspects, how the world is changing, and then how that changes finance. And obviously understanding that is also a part of financial literacy. So these are probably I mean, I've listed 5 here, 5 different dimensions of financial literacy, and you need to be kind of literate in all these different aspects, right? So that's more like just a summary slide here. And then the next one here at a higher level, I just want to talk about. Now we said why financial literacy is important, why what are the different areas in which it needs to be, you need to be literate and all that. So I'm just going to list a few high-level points here about how you can be financially literate, right? So again, I have another slide later which talks about the details of it, but this is at a higher level. What does it mean? What can you do to be financially literate? So the first thing is, it is common sense. So a lot of times it is very basic, it is common sense, but I think as Voltaire said once, common sense is not so common these days, right? So we when we say that common sense, it's we think, oh, that's very basic, everyone should know that. But unfortunately, especially when it comes to money, we do not go by common sense. So things like, for example, very basic, right? You should not spend more than what you earn. I mean, that sounds a very basic thing, very very commonsensical thing. But a lot of people don't do that. A lot of people overspend and then get into trouble, right? So I think a lot of times, it's common sense, it's your gut feeling, but unfortunately, we do not go by that. We go by, some kind of an illusion, which we think, will at some point, all these things will get corrected. But unfortunately, it doesn't happen all the time, right? So that's again, so, use your common sense and then be disciplined about it. And then what you need is a change in behavior, attitude, and mindset. So behavior is like, what you do. Okay, you as a sort of practice, you keep doing some of these things. Some of these things have to change. And then attitude and mindset. I mean, mindset is again, it's again, if, for example, if again, when you talk about the income and expense part, you let's say, you have to live within your means, like, do not spend more than what you earn. But then a lot of times our spending patterns are kind of decided by what other people say or other people think, or your neighbor, what they do, right? So but you need to change your attitude, and you need to change your mindset. I mean, you need to basically be honest to yourself, and then your behaviors have to be adjusted based on that, right? And then the next one here is be curious. You have to understand the details, right? When someone says, okay, there's a new type of investment, why don't you invest in this, and this is great. So but a lot of times people just take it, okay, maybe that person is your friend, or maybe a relative, or someone who has done well in life, right? So you just think that accepting whatever they say, but don't do that. Be curious. uh, unless you understand by yourself what it means, don't jump into something, right? Understand the finance behind everything. I mean, this is not just when you are trying to invest. It's also when you hear about something in the news, try to understand the finance behind it, right? Why, for example, you hear about something in the budget, for example, hear about let's say topic masala bond, which came up a couple of years back. So it's a big topic. There was so much of coverage of that in the press. But what is it? What is masala bond, right? I mean, I don't think many people would have tried to understand that. I mean, people would have, there were a lot of people kind of debating about it, but not necessarily understanding the details about it. So be curious, try to understand. When some new concept you hear about it, try to understand the details, try to convince yourself about the details of that particular concept, and then make informed decisions. So whatever decisions you make sure that it is based on information, it is based on understanding, not just because someone else did this, or someone told you, right? So be that's again another thing, high level behavior you can think. And then be active participants and drivers, not passive riders. I mean, this is obviously a generic kind of statement. So be active, try to understand, try to participate, not just be driven by someone else, right? And then be literate and continue to be literate. I mean, basically, it is not a one-time thing. You have to continue to do that, because the world is changing, your financial situation is changing, your financial options are changing. So you need to continue to do that. It's not just like you do this one thing one time, and then it's there forever, right? So you need to continue to be literate. So so far, we talk about all these different dimensions. So now quickly I will go through. So this, I'll just focus on personal finance now, because I'm not going to talk too much about the state finance and other things. I'll just quickly go over personal finance, because that's probably the most important part of financial literacy. So again, there are, here again, I've listed 5 different aspects of personal finance which you need to be kind of aware about, right? So the first one is income, expense, budget, all those kind of things, right? So basically the basic decisions, like how much you earn, how much you spend, what's your budget, should you buy something versus should you rent, whether it's a car or whether it's a house or whatever, is it a good idea to buy that versus renting? So those are the basic the first pillar. And then the second one is about savings and investments. So how do you save? What are the different ways you can invest? So investment, you can start from fixed deposit, FDs, then recurring deposits, RDs, stocks, mutual funds, real estate, gold, cryptocurrencies. A lot of people have doing that now, and then other businesses. So there's a lot of different types of investments you can do. And then that again is an important part. So the first part is just income and expense, and then you save from that, and then you go into investments. And then credit is essentially all the types of loans you take, right? So whether it's using credit cards, or whether you take a loan from a bank or another organization or institution, and then whether you take a mortgage. Mortgage is essentially taking a loan based on a collateral, like your house. So that's the mortgage. And then there is also the idea of credit score, which essentially reflects how much you can borrow, right? So that's another part of it. And then the fourth one is financial scams and financial frauds. This is again very, very sort of important. And how does this happen? Why, how do they kind of cheat people, right? And how can you sort of protect yourself against all that? And the last part is risk management. Risk management is about how do you what are some of the risks you are taking with your money, and then how you can sort of protect yourself against them, right? So that's again the fifth part. So these are essentially the 5 pillars of your personal finance, the money and you part, right? So again, I have a couple of slides on each of these, but I'm not, because of time, we cannot go into a lot of details on those specific things, but I'll just give you a flavor of what they mean, right? Okay, so income and expenses. So I'll just give you high level sort of ideas, very basic things here. Have a plan. So income and expense, always have a plan. You know how much you earn, how much you spend, how much you should spend. At least be aware of that, right? This is very, very important. So yeah, how much you are getting and how much you are spending, and if you are overspending, how much, and all that. So have a plan. And then your expenses should be in line with your income. So it cannot be based on something else. It has to be based on what you get and what you have. It cannot be based on what other people say. So that's a very basic thing. And then the other basic thing is plan for emergencies. Do not, at least do not plan to spend everything you have. You can get hit with emergencies, whether it's a health or a natural disaster, accident, whatever, right? So those kind of things, you should plan for that. You should have at least some money saved to take care of those kind of situations. So this is very basic. I'm not saying that everybody will be able to do all these things on day one, but at least this should be your goal. The next one, savings and investments. So this is again very, very basic. So saving, so again, what's the difference, right, between saving and investment? Saving is the first step before investing. Saving is having some money surplus, right? Having some money kind of set aside, and then how you use that money, that is investment. And again, a very basic principle here is save first and spend the rest, right? And not spend first and save the rest. So when let's say you start working, or you are already working, and then you have a salary, have a target of how much you want to save from that. Let's say 30%, 20%, whatever number that you are comfortable with, right? So have that target, and then save that first, and then spend the rest. Not the other way around. A lot of times, okay, I will spend. I mean, basically what a lot of people think is that I'll spend whatever is needed and then save the rest. But then what happens is your spending can kind of go up, or you may have some new spending, so you just keep taking that taking away from the savings, right? Whereas if you make savings as your goal, and then like whatever is left with it, you spend that's probably a healthier way to do it. And then investment, like we said before, investment is not gambling. Investment cannot be like gambling. When you make an investment, you have to understand all the details. Whereas gambling, you don't. It's like you just you are very optimistic and you go and put your money on something, and then you may or may not win. That cannot be an attitude in investment. Investment, you have to understand your risk, and then you have to manage your risk in your investment. So it cannot be like done like gambling. And take risk. This is again important thing. A lot of it's not being cautious does not mean that you don't take risk, because if you don't take risk, then you don't get any return, right? So it's like for example, keeping your cash in your savings account, or or just as cash under your pillow. So that obviously you don't get any return for that, and then because of the inflation you lose money. So, if you don't take any risk, you don't get any return. Sometimes you get negative returns, right? So you do take a risk, but then don't take excessive risk, and more importantly, understand your risk and then manage it properly. If you don't understand something, don't take the risk. Right? And be careful in following the herd. This is again, when someone has done it, you just, oh, that's a good idea. Let's do that. That kind of a thing, following the herd, just following the crowd. Okay, everyone is doing this, so you just keep doing that. Again, there are two problems with that. One is that it may not be necessarily true. It may not be true that everyone is doing that. Only you think everyone is doing that because people are talking about it, right? But that may not be true, because only certain people talk about what they are doing, right? So, the information itself may not be correct. And the second is, obviously, if everyone keeps doing that, then the opportunity in that area would be obviously coming down. So, you need to be careful about following the herd. You kind of analyze yourself and then understand that. And then the next one is obviously be rational, be objective. We always be, any kind of thing when you do, be rational. You kind of ask questions, and then you make a decision based on that. Okay, credit and loan. This again, I won't go too much into the details here. So, it's again, getting a loan. Borrowing is not necessarily bad, right? So it's like, a lot of times people also have this thinking that, oh, okay, getting being any kind of debt, or being having taking any kind of loan is not good, is bad. And then you have, especially when you have money, let's say you have some money, surplus saved money. Then when you want to buy something, is it a good idea to take a loan, right? A lot of people think that, oh, that's not a good idea, because when you already have the money, then why do you pay interest and take the loan, right? And I think that's not necessarily the case all the time, because sometimes, having the money here, maybe it's something which you can use, when you have an emergency situation. So when you have saved something for your emergency situation, you don't want to take that money, let's say, go and buy a car, because to buy a car you get a loan, right? So taking a loan itself is not necessarily bad, but then obviously it should be based on your ability to sort of repay and your current financial situation. And also being in debt. Being in debt means being deeply in debt. that can be really bad. And before you borrow, know how you will pay back. That's very important. A lot of times, people just think, okay, let me borrow now, and then I'll think about paying back later. That's not necessarily a very healthy thing to do. Have a plan of how you would pay back. I mean, the plan may change, that's fine, but then at least, have a plan and then keep it updated, right? And then the next one, this is again, probably sort of a debatable statement, but loan is not a way to realize your dreams. This is a lot of times, when these kind of ads come out, they say that, oh, you have a dream, and then, just come to us and we'll give you the money to kind of realize the dreams. I don't think that's necessarily a good thing. It basically, loan, again, whatever you are borrowing, it should be based on ground realities. It cannot be based on some kind of an abstract, dreamy idea, right? And then be fully aware of all the costs, benefits, and the alternatives before you borrow. Look at all the different alternatives, maybe different ways you can borrow, or maybe use your savings a bit. So all these different angles you have to consider, and then you have to make a decision, right? So it cannot be, just, again, based on a lot of analysis. And the next thing is about scams. This I will spend a little bit of time because this is a very important thing. Like, people get cheated on money, right? So this is again a very important thing. So there are different types of these kind of scams. One is stolen data. So you get a credit card fraud, identity theft, and telemarketing fraud, all those kind of things. Someone has managed to steal your data and then use that data to sort of cheat you. So essentially, someone used your credit card and the credit card PIN to make a purchase, or someone is sort of positioning as you and then making another transaction. So all these kind of things, is based on stolen data. And then the next one is about technology, using technology to cheat you. So basically, there is what is called ATM PIN skimming. Someone, have sophisticated way of kind of stealing your PIN and then use that to extract money. And then what is called a phishing. So you get a link and then you click on it and then you accidentally get into some sort of financial commitment. And then OTP scams, you hear about that a lot. People get a call and then they ask you to give an OTP, and then they use that OTP to cheat you. So these are all sort of technology, these kind of things like ATM PIN and OTP, they're all technologies to protect you. But then you inadvertently, give away that protection to these kind of fraudsters, right? So that's again technology sort of scam. And then exploiting the greed. So this is again, people are greedy, right? I mean, when you have money, this is again what we had talked about earlier. When you have 10, then you look for 100, and then you look for 1,000, that kind of a thing, right? So greed is always there. So there are people to exploit your greed. So, for example, I'm sure a lot of people, you would have received emails saying that this free lottery scam. Someone saying that, oh, you have won a lottery, so you send this money, then you will get a lot more money. I mean, basically, just for us to send you this money, you need to give us some money first, and then when you look at all these numbers, you get greedy, and then you don't really think about it, and then you send the first money they ask for, and then you never hear back from them. And then advance fee schemes, or they say that, okay, you have, you are going to get something, but then just before that, give us some small money and then give you this, right? And then this pigeon drop is this is like a scam when you typically hear you get an email saying that, okay, I have some money, like the a lot of times with some African last names. People say that, oh, I won some money, but because of my financial and tax situation, I cannot take that money. So I want you to take that money on my behalf, and I'll split the money with you, right? And this kind of scam email. that's again, people get greedy, people get, these kind of, oh, easy money I'm going to get, and then you just fall for it. And then the next one is these are some of the complex financial structures which people get duped because they don't understand what actually it means, and then get into that. For example, some long-term investment schemes with a lot of fine prints. So some kind of a annuity or some kind of a insurance policy or something they get into, but then it has a lot of fine prints, a lot of details which you don't really read, and then you commit to something, and then, for example, you take something and then, oh, you have to commit for like 50 years, or you have to keep paying for like 20 years, and then you just but obviously that's not what you expected, right? And then things like pyramid schemes, this you would have seen these kind of things where it's essentially what is called pyramid or chain marketing or MLM, multi-level marketing, all these kind of things. It's like you taking a franchise, you're taking an agency, and then you recruit maybe two more people, and then they recruit two people each, and then when sort of your network expands, then you get some sort of return for that. I think some of the big names, I mean, companies, I don't really want to name any companies because that may not be kind of people may not like it, but then there are a lot of these kind of schemes. And I mean, honestly I feel that most of it is all scam. Like, it's definitely not you don't get the benefits what they kind of promise, and a lot of times majority of the people lose money, right? So again, don't fall for all those kind of things. And then there are these kind of slightly different variations, things like what are called the Ponzi schemes. Ponzi scheme is like, you essentially, new people, when they join the network, they pay for the existing people. And then when more new people come in, then obviously you get benefited. But at some point, it's like the pyramid. I mean, it's kind of similar, same as pyramid schemes, but pyramid scheme has a very specific structure, whereas Ponzi doesn't have that. So it's like, you think about it as a pyramid. The top, there are only few people, but as you come to the bottom, the number of people is really large. So obviously at some point the pyramid cannot grow any further, and it will stop, and then people at the bottom, they all lose money, and people at the top obviously make the most money, and the people in the middle make some money, right? So these are all like sophisticated structures. People do not understand it properly and then fall for it, right? And then some of the quotes here are related to scams. If something sounds too good to be true, it probably is, right? If you see that, oh, this is great, this is some kind of a once in a lifetime kind of opportunity, then you really have to be skeptical about it. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is too good to be true, right? And then there is no free lunch. I mean, obviously, there's nothing. I mean, if someone is giving you something, then there is probably a catch behind that. And then the next one, this I kind of like it. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. So if you fool me once, then obviously you are bad, you are responsible, right? Whereas if you have fooled me twice for the same thing, then it's not, it is actually shame on me. Why do I let myself get fooled twice? It's not just you, it is also me, right? So again, how do you avoid? Obviously the basic things, common sense here, be alert, be understand. And this third one is kind of important. Ask this question: how does it work for them and not you? So if they say that, okay, this is how this is going to work, and you are going to get, you just pay this much and you're going to get a lot of return for that, then as a providers of the scheme, how does it work for them, right? So if it is too beneficial for you, then it might sound that it's not necessarily that beneficial for the people who are this thing. So you need to understand how it works for them, not for you. So again, so all these kind of opportunities, finally, I want to say that there are definitely good opportunities. There are definitely more newer, innovative business models. So don't be too skeptical. Don't just reject everything, but please understand things before you get into, right? And the risk, because of the time, I don't really go into too much detail here. Risk is essentially, financial risk is different from, what we normally understand as risk. This is a very concrete, measurable risk. So anything you do, there is a way to measure the risk and try to understand that and try to manage. Don't do things like gambling. And then insurance is important. Insure against things which you don't have control. And I'm not saying that you have to insure everything, but then insurance is an important tool. Make use of it where you think it's necessary, whether it's about your life insurance or health insurance or property insurance. Insure against things which are out of your control. Okay, so this slide, again, I don't go into details here, but this is, I just want to tell you about this, what is called fintech. So this is essentially, the financial world is changing dramatically as we speak. So because of technology, essentially, right? So you would have seen, you've probably already seen that, with the payment, these days you don't really need to carry around money. You make payments using Google Pay, all those kind of things, right? So those are different aspects of it, but there are different technologies, different business models which are changing the world of finance completely. So this has happened. This probably started changing 5 years back. And if you look at the world of finance, let's say 5 to 10 years from now, you may not recognize it. It's going to be very, very different. And this is happening as we speak. And why? What is driving all this? For example, technologies like high-speed internet, mobile, cloud computing, data revolution or data analytics, artificial intelligence, blockchains, crowdsourcing, crowdfunding, virtual reality, all these kind of things are changing. These are all being very actively used in finance now, and they are changing the way we do things, the way how banks work, the way how insurance work, right? The way how companies make or raise money for investment, right? All these kind of things are changing dramatically. So this is an area to watch out for. So try to understand what is happening, and again, don't get driven by it, but try to be active participants. And this is, again, very important. It's not just about the people in finance. It's also any kind of job you do. Your job is going to get influenced by these kind of changes in what is called fintech. This is a topic by itself. So, for example, I teach that as one semester course. So this is kind of a big area, but try to keep an eye on to understand what is changing in this kind of area. And now the sort of the last main slide here. So we talked about some high-level ideas of how you can be literate. So here I'm going to go into a little bit more details or more concrete ideas of how you can kind of keep your financial literacy, right? So first thing is, like we said, understand it and make a plan for your money. So this is like anybody, anyone who is dealing with money. And if you are not earning today, then go and talk to your parents and make sure that they have a plan, right? So it's basically your family has a plan and understand how they manage money. This is something which everyone can do. Take control of your money if you're not doing it. And then for every financial decisions you make, look at alternatives. Look at different options and then make a decision based on that. Be skeptical, be curious, understand. And then read and listen to the news and discuss and focusing on finance. So when you listen to the news, when you hear about something, try to understand the financial aspect behind it. Try to see what, for example, if someone like if for example uh, there is a new provision in the budget, or for example the value of the rupee is going down, or the petrol prices, diesel prices are increasing. What is happening? I mean, why are people blaming the government for it? I mean, that there is a global market, and that market also there is a change in price. So how does the government get involved? So try to understand all these kind of different aspects. Be curious, listen to the news, and understand the finance behind it, right? And discuss money matters with family and friends. Don't be hesitant. Talk about money. Try to understand what different people do, and then learn from that. And learn from publicly available content. So you go to YouTube and you search, you get a ton of content. I mean, I'm not saying just YouTube. I mean, different places. Try to go through that and try to learn about different ideas. And in that, you can probably do it. Do it like every week or every day. You pick up a new topic, and learn. For example, we talked about the value of the rupee. I mean, this is a very current topic. Rupee has depreciated to historical low values. What is happening? Is that necessarily a very bad thing, or is there a good thing about it? Or why is it happening? All those kind of details. Try to understand the details, and not just go by what people post in WhatsApp or Facebook, right? Try to understand the details. Then RBI, we talk about RBI changing the interest rate. What does it mean? How does it affect you? How does it affect others, right? And then the budget, mutual fund. I mean, pick these different topics. And Bitcoin, this is a very, very big topic. Try to understand. Try to pick a topic every week, or depending on maybe every day if you have time, and then try to understand that in depth. And then understand financial topics in movies and stories. The movie, when you watch a movie, a lot of movies, both Indian and Hollywood, which talk about some kind of financial topic, right? The movie called Wall Street, all these different movies, right? So try to understand what so a lot of people watch them more as a movie, more as a thriller, but you probably don't understand the details. Be curious, try to understand the details behind that movie and the storyline, right? And understand how scams work, different types of scam. When you read the news about a particular scam, like for example a finance company, kind of Popular Finance, whatever, that folded and cheated, what exactly happened? It's don't just read about how it affected families, all those kind of popular part of the news. Also try to understand the finance behind it. And then are you vulnerable? This is more important. When you hear about a scam, do you think you are vulnerable? And try to kind of try to be self-aware. Try to understand your own behavior and see if you are going to be if you are put in that kind of situation, would you have been cheated? And then how can you prevent that in future? And then again, continue to be literate and continue to be literate. So this is essentially the main part of what I wanted to say. So I have a last slide here. This again, I'm not. These are some of the thoughts. This is kind of putting everything in and then kind of wrapping up. These questions obviously have no answers or no right or wrong answers, but this will be interesting for you to think about it. So, for example, do you think money and happiness are related? I mean, this is obviously a very personal question, and people may have different answers, but this is, your answer is more important. Just think about it when you get some time. And if you think money and happiness are related, why? And if so, how? And the next question is, how much money do you need? How much money or wealth would you need? This is again a question, open question. You can think about it. And the answer is probably not the important one. It is the thinking about it, your analysis, your reflection about it, which is more important. And and do you think there is any real advantage of being rich, or what do you think is a real advantage of being rich? Maybe an open question, like, is there any advantage of being rich? And what do you think if there is a real disadvantage of being rich? Again, a question. Just think about it, be open about it. And then, can you cheated by financial fraud? Why? Why not? You just think about your own nature, your own behavior, right? And then, can you think about a rich person who is a model? Can you think about a not very rich person who is a model, and why? Right? And then, what are some of the positive things in the Indian culture about money? What are some of the negative things you think in our Indian culture about money? And what are some of the positive changes that are happening in our society regarding money? And what are some of the negative changes? Again, it's all kind of subjective. These are open questions. This is, again, as I said, it's more important for the process of thinking about it rather than the actual answer itself, because the answer can be definitely different depending on the people. So that's again what I will leave as the last thing. And then, so thank you very much. I think I have overshot on time. So yeah, I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your valuable words. The class was really amazing and inspiring. So now it is the time for interactive session. If you have any questions, then you can ask either by unmuting or by messaging on the chat box. And we are also looking for the valuable opinions about this session.
Shankar, thank you very much for an insightful session. Just one question.
Yeah.
Is there any link between retirement and financial literacy, and continue to be literate? Because nowadays people say that I retire at the age of 30 or before because of some large return from some of the incomes, some of the investments.
Yeah.
Is there any real link? And some of the time it is really misleading. And people are following that herd mentality sometimes. Like, I also want to retire early, so what do I do? It's like,
Yeah. I think it's about what you want to do in life, right? Retirement is just a different phase of life, right? So retirement, just working is just one part of it. So retirement just means that you are stopping something which is called an official job or a career, and then doing something else. If you are retiring not, if you are retiring for not doing anything, you really have to think about it. I don't think that, if you at the age of 30, and if you're retiring and you are just stopping everything, and then, whether it's a good thing or bad thing, you really have to think about it. I don't know. But yeah, I think it's retiring. It just means that you are stopping something which which you had to do because you had to make some money. And then now you are shifting into something, and, maybe you find something a lot more meaningful in life, right? So I think it's if you just look at that, so to lead that so-called post-retirement life, if you don't have any financial constraints or financial concerns anymore, that's probably the best thing you can that can happen to you in your life, right? If you really want to do something and you don't have a financial constraint, I think that's probably the best. But again, it should not be just stopping everything and sitting idle. It should be to do something more meaningful, right? So, but obviously, finance is very important, because a lot of times you are not able to do that because of financial constraints. You don't have money, or you don't have enough savings, so that you can do what you really want to do, right?
Thank you. Hari, you have a question?
Namaste, Shankar sir. Very interesting session. So many interesting points you explained in the talk, especially advices like save first and spend next. Really great, sir. And one point which I noted especially is we are given very less importance in our education system regarding financial literacy. I don't remember any even a single chapter was devoted to financial literacy in our classes up to 12th standard. So, as an NGO, I am the secretary of Sri Raghuvaram Sabhayogam. I think it is our responsibility to highlight these to government, and in all possible platform we should highlight it, because we are studying so many things: physics, chemistry, maths, and biology. So many things we are studying, but this essential part we are missing. So
Yes.
that we have to do, and
Yes.
I request your input. So, what all things we can do as an NGO to bring in financial literacy in our society? How to build up our society for in this direction?
Yes, I mean, this is absolutely very important point, and this is not just a case with India. It's also the case globally, especially in the US also. So this people are talking about it now, how you can do that. So a lot of NGOs doing this kind of work, and again, sometimes it's probably very hard to influence the the government and the policy makers to really get to them. And but now government is also fully aware of this, and RBI probably, if you read about it, RBI has a big program to make sure that this happens. But I have not seen this getting into any curriculum of schools or colleges, right? Whereas just recently, because I'm working with this university, Thapar University in Punjab, so we started a curriculum for they have a program called liberal arts. So it's essentially like a BSc degree in here, right? So they have for that we are introducing financial literacy as one of the courses to kind of study. So that'll be more like a 3-month course where we do this through workshops, because this is something, for example, whatever I did today, just using presentation, it's very hard to get it into your heads when you have, so it needs to be through practice sessions and all that. So that's again a very important thing. And then I think, before we can influence the authorities and influence the decision makers, what NGOs could do is to do these kind of maybe parallel kind of movements. So for example, you can have your own little session where people can join and have a parallel class going on these kind of topics, right? So and then maybe get together and discuss some of these money kind of things. Let people do some of these talk, for example, their budgeting and expense and all that. Let people do that, and then see if if they need help, then maybe we can help. So that kind of thing. I think a lot of times this culture has to start in the family. So in this particular case, the family itself, we don't really talk about it. We never talk about money. I mean, it's really amazing, right? We talk about everything else, all the other things important, right? But money is not something which we talk about. And when parents have to discuss about money, they do that after the children have slept. So that's a very very kind of strange thing when you think about it. But that's what happens. So I think these kind of things probably can you don't really need the government to do that, right? I mean, the family can the society can get into that, right? So that's probably a way to start it, because to get something like this into a kind of a large scale in a curriculum for the state, or it's probably difficult. And that but it will definitely happen. And I know that some of the parallel alternate schools who have done, like, there are a lot of interesting alternate schools which operate in India, and some of them have it. For example, there is a school called Sarang, where I think they operate in this Attapadi in the Palakkad district, right? So they have a sort of a residential school scheme where money is a very important thing. They start teaching kids about money kind of very very young age, like 6th grade, 5th grade. And then they talk about that school's finance. They bring it to the kids, and they all together kind of make discussion and decisions about it. So some people are actually doing that, but again, it's not. It's very strange that we are so secretive about it.
So, Vishnu, with your permission, one more thing I would like to mention. Shankar sir, we have a small team of young professionals in finance area. Many of them CA professionals. So it would be great if you can be an advisor in the advisory board, or be a patron of Sabhayogam in this area, in academy as well as in this financial sector. I request your help.
Okay, yeah, I think that
we need to act on this part. Yeah. We'll contact you, sir, later through Vishnu.
Sure, no problem.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Like a candidate. No. So I think you will make the point.
Anata, your voice is breaking. And
Yeah, I couldn't
Hello?
hear it. Sorry. No, I didn't hear the question. Sorry.
Hello?
Seems we can move to the next item.
Okay.
yeah, if there are no further questions, we can move on, Chaitra, the next closing part.
And now it's the time to wind up this session. I invite Mr. Shankar M, the executive member of Sri Raghapuram Sabhayogam Academy, to deliver the vote of thanks. He is currently working as the content creation associate in the Byju's exam preparations. He completed postgraduate in physics from NIT Calicut. Shankar, please.
Good evening all. Honorable Vice Chairperson Srimati Aryananta Kumar, Chief Guest of the Day Sri Shankar M, board members and respected audience. The duty entrusted upon me is to thank each and every one of you who have participated in this monthly M. So first of all, I would like to thank Srimati Aryananta Kumar who had delivered the presidential address. Thank you, ma'am. Next, I express the sincere gratitude on behalf of Sabhayogam Academy to Sri Shankar M for providing a very informative session on a very relevant topic. Thank you, sir. I thank Ms. Anjana who had recited the prayer, Ms. Anaga Jyotish Krishna who had delivered the welcome speech, Ms. Anaga A who had introduced the chief guest, Ms. Megha R. Sharma and Ms. Suvarna Devi S, who had together anchored the program on behalf of Sri Raghapuram Sabhayogam Academy. And finally, I thank each and every one of you who had participated in this program. Thank you all, and good night.